Huh? Ready? Okay. Good morning. Call to order the June 18, 2019 meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors. Would the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Good morning, Supervisor Cerna.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Frost. Here. Kennedy.
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and is webcast at sacramentocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, June 21st at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. The meeting is also broadcast live on KUBU Radio on 96.5 FM. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address the board may fill out a speaker slip and hand it to staff. When the chair calls your name, please come to the podium. Also, please silence your electronic devices at this time.
Thank you. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item.
Okay, for your consent matters, you do have an addendum and also items 1 through 80. And for your addendum, it's a resolution honoring Cheryl Renee Kraft on the occasion of her retirement from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. You also will present a resolution at 9:30 when you take up your presentations. I do have a title correction on item 55, the agreement between the County of Sacramento and the City of Rancho Cordova for installation of street lighting with Folsom Boulevard Streetscape Enhancements Project. Phase 5, the contract number is corrected to 52465. And then for item 69, we need to continue this to June 16th, so you're not introducing this ordinance, you're continuing this ordinance, amending Chapter 6.2, Title 6 of the Sacramento County Code relating to solid waste management. And then I also need a motion to drop item 76. It's a resolution congratulating Joe Marcos on the occasion of his 100th birthday. So if we could take a motion for items 69 and 76, I'll take that right now.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Motion second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present. And that concludes the clerk's notes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we will have the newly added presentation after the first presentation, so it'll be the second.
Okay.
Mr. Cerna?
Yep, that's good.
All right, next item. Is there any questions, comments? Yes?
I'd like a record to reflect that I'm recusing myself from item 34 to a potential conflict of interest.
Okay.
Any others? Mr. Cerna?
Yeah, I had just a comment on item 60.
Item number 60 is the I-5 Metro Air Parkway Interchange Project award of bid to Security Paving Company.
So again, it should be no surprise to those involved with this project that any opportunity I have to thank all of our folks from DOT and Economic Development and our CEO's office in helping expedite this project and getting us to this point. We're about to award the bid for the I-5 Metro Park interchange. It's a long time coming. This is some infrastructure that will, I think, really ignite very strong interest in that park. And as we all know, it's for a variety of reasons languished over the years, but with the development, recent development and operation of the Amazon distribution center out there, and then some other subsequent property acquisitions, I think we're well on our way to making that a very successful component part of Sacramento County's economic development portfolio. So again, thanks to everyone involved.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a
Oh,
motion.
wait, I can't.
Yeah, we have a motion. The chair will second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote, and let the record reflect that Supervisor Peters recused from items 34.
Okay, with that, I would like to call Lisa Travis to the podium, please.
Oh, she is here.
Most of you don't know this, but what we just did included bringing on our newest county council, and I just wanted to say what a pleasure it has been working with you, how much we're all looking forward to working with you. It was one of the easiest decisions and fastest we've ever made as a body. It's I think that you're at the right place at the right time for the County of Sacramento. So if you'd like to say anything.
Thank you, Chair Kennedy, and the rest of the board. I really appreciate you appointing me to this position. I look forward to continuing to work with you all, just in a different role. I also look forward to working with the county exec and his management team. Looking forward to the new opportunities that we have. Would also like to thank my friend and colleague Tracy Lee for stepping in the last 6 months and doing a fabulous job as interim county council.
Okay, so the first thing you have to learn is don't steal my thunder.
Well, I'm sure you'll be doing a much better job and more thorough job in it, so I won't.
Thank
But
you
thank
very
you.
much.
Other than that, I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
With that, I would like to thank Tracy Lee for the fantastic job that you've done. I have found you not to be an interim county council, but a county council, and you've been a true pleasure to work with. Susan and I got to work with you probably more than we wanted to. Through the mediation process that we all know about for ongoing litigation, but your counsel was invaluable, your energy, your straightforwardness. If we could have 2 county councils, you'd be, my pick.
Oh.
Anybody? Don?
Yeah, I would just echo what Chair Kennedy said. Certainly, first to congratulate Lisa on her appointment, and then also to thank Tracy for her work. And I know that obviously she's been in the county council's office for a number of years and worked, largely in the family law arena. But I know that over the past 6 months, I've had the opportunity on things big and small to work with her, and she's learned a lot about, as I have from her from a legal standpoint, but issues that I'm sure would not have come to her attention had she not had the good fortune of serving in the capacity she served in. But I want to thank you, Tracy. I know you worked late evenings here, again, a couple times mentioned in the garage, going out at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, and so I know you've put the hours in and have certainly been a great asset to this board during the interim period, and the fact that you're going to continue to serve with the office and work with Lisa and the rest of the colleagues there is a great thing, so thanks again.
Mr. Cerna.
Thank you. So I too will add on and offer my sincerest thanks to Tracy for a job well done. And just one question: when are you going to write your book on the finer points of the Brown Act? Because you've been very attentive and diligent on that particular angle of what we do here at the board, and it hasn't gone unappreciated. I think even though at times we may have had friendly differences of opinion about interpretation of certain things, I think you've been very, very steadfast in your counsel to this board about our open meeting protocols, and so that's been something that I've certainly noticed. I think the rest of us have, and I wanted to thank you in particular for that part of what you've been doing for the last several months. And I also want to thank and congratulate Lisa Travis, and I couldn't be more proud. Many people know me as a Northern California ambassador for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. My dear I'm an alumnus of that university, as is Lisa, so I'll just end with Go Mustangs.
I only got 1 year at Cal Poly, and I'm a Hornet now, so.
Susan Peters.
Thank you. I want to first congratulate Lisa. I'm looking forward to working with you. Tracy sings your praises, and you have done so well in the other boards that we see you on. I'm looking forward to working with you. And Tracy, it's been a great 6 months with a lot of positive interaction. And a little known fact, you probably don't know, that Tracy and I got kicked out of the quiet car on the train during the mediation. We were chatting in a place we weren't supposed to chat. So I have appreciated all the time with you, and you're available any time of day or night, and it was invaluable. So I wish you the best going back to your old boring job. Right?
Supervisor Frost.
I just want to echo what everyone else said. I really appreciate, Tracy, your being available and answering all of our questions and supporting my office. And your ability to work very well with all of these personalities that you have taken on a lot and very quickly, and we have appreciated you helping us maneuver through many important decisions. And Lisa, I'm looking forward to also working with you, and I agree with Supervisor Kennedy. I think that was the fastest decision I ever saw made between the five of us. So it was a unanimous, we were all very excited to have your application and to appoint you. So I'm looking forward to working with you as well. Thank you.
Okay, with that, next item, please.
Did you?
Yeah, do you mind if I say
Leave?
something really quick? No.
Oh, yes.
I just want to
That's not
say
what
thank
she had
you.
intended, I don't think.
I've got to go. I just wanted to say thank you, and super humbled by this experience. You have an amazing board, definitely different personalities that work very hard for your constituents. County Exec's office, the quality of work that's done in this county, you all should be so proud. And I know I am. And I've learned a lot about this county that I had no idea. That's what you get when you drink out of a fire hose for 6 months. And I just want to give a caveat. We got kicked out of the quiet car for talking too loudly when we were really kind of whispering. The sign was.
I thought silence on
No. No.
You don't agree? Oops, I had a witness. Should have worked on that.
Well, at least I have my lawyer with me.
Right.
Bail me out.
I got your back.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say thank you for making the decision to appoint Lisa Travis, and you made the right decision for this board, for our office. You can see represented here. And for this county at this time. It was the right decision. And Lisa's been with our office since '98. She has had varied assignments through Public Works, Juvenile Dependency, Regional SAN, and excelled at every assignment that she had. She's respected and loved by her clients, admired by her peers. She gets the job done, always, with confidence, skill, compassion, and kindness. She's a leader in the community, an amazing mom to 2 unbelievable daughters, a dedicated partner to her husband, a loving and caring daughter, a supportive friend to many, and I hear a wickedly competitive trivia champion. She's smart, savvy, and steady. She's a perfect choice for this job, for this time, and I want to thank you for making that decision.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so for your next item, this is the presentation of resolution honoring Cheryl Renee Kraft on the occasion of her retirement from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department.
Where is she? In the last row, as usual, being unobtrusive.
So, colleagues on the board, it's my honor this morning to recognize someone that we see in these chambers every time we've met for the last 3-4 years, maybe, and that is Sacramento County Deputy Cheryl Renee Kraft. And I just found out, I don't know about you, but I just found out recently that she is leaving us, and she's going to the California State Assembly to serve in the Sergeant of Arms office there. She's given this county 23 years of dedicated service. I think many of you are aware that she comes from a lineage of law enforcement. Both her nephew and her father have served in various capacities in law enforcement. And I thought it very appropriate that we take the time, even though 23 years is not that even number, it's not 30, it's not 25, it's not 20. But when it comes to guarding the security, not just of the board as the effective Sergeant of Arms here, with every open session of this board convening, but the safety of the public here in Chambers and in our administration building. So I wanted to make sure that we did what I thought was appropriate, and I think you would agree, and that's to honor her with a resolution on the occasion of her retirement from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. Congratulations.
I am not a person of many words. I will say that first, but I would like to thank the board. Thank you for letting me serve you. Thank you for letting me help assist you over these years. And thank you to the staff of the county. You guys have been amazing. It's been a pleasure to work in this capacity. For the Sheriff's Department that I've worked for 23 years, it's been a great experience. And I've really enjoyed it. And yes, I come from a family of law enforcement, so it's been a really proud thing for me to be able to carry that on. So, thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors and Supervisor Cerna. Thank you very much for the recognition. Cheryl, congratulations on 23 years of committed service. And your professionalism and your attention to detail will be sorely missed. But congratulations on a much kind of retirement.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Might be a little crazier at the Capitol, though. Say a few words.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you don't want to hear from me. I just want to say that she is going to be sorely missed. She's an amazing part of our dignitary team, probably the lead of and teaching me how to do this. So she's going to be missed here. She's going to be missed at the Sheriff's Department. She's an amazing person and an amazing employee, and I'm very happy that she's going where she wants to go. But we're going to miss her. So congratulations.
Supervisor Frost.
Oh, Cheryl, don't go away yet. I just wanted to thank you. Within a week of being elected in 2016 and being installed, I came to have a need for the assistance of someone from our sheriff department to kind of help me out in some of my meetings. And Cheryl was there. You have been so professional and so kind, and not only in keeping us safe and watching out for us, but also just explaining to me about your work and what you do, so that I better understand some of the things that go on behind the scenes. And I think you are so good at what you do, and I have so appreciated you being there to help my office at times. And so I want to wish you all the best in your future at the state capitol.
Supervisor Tolley.
Cheryl, I want to just offer certainly a big thank you to you. And I know that over the years I've had a chance to certainly work with your father when he was with the Sheriff's Department, obviously his work with the state at Cal Expo. But you've been a real pleasure to work with. I know that probably been a little frustrating working with me. I tend to shun the security detail, not because I don't respect what they do, but nonetheless, many major events, and Cheryl was always good and followed up, had my cell phone, and I could call her if I needed to. Usually it was because I was running late, as was this morning. Probably could have used the escort this morning getting here, but they were probably following me this morning getting here, so I was running late. But I know I've had a tendency oftentimes to linger here in the chambers, and I think your assignment is obviously until the board clears the chambers, you're supposed to be on duty. And so I'm sure you had to log a few extra hours while I visited with folks following the meetings and so forth. But I say it with all seriousness, because I know, again, you take your assignment very seriously, and obviously public protection and public safety. And certainly it's not just for board members and staff, but it's for all the folks who participate in our public meetings, which we're doing the public's business. And again, I've seen you out and about in the community, and certainly with your colleagues. And I've very much appreciated certainly your attention to detail and your good work, but certainly your pleasant demeanor, and obviously You may not say a lot of words, but I know you're very engaged in the community, and you care very deeply about the people who you look out for, and I thank you for that. I want to wish you well, obviously, in your new assignment. You may find it a little more challenging over there, but nonetheless, for what you have taken on the assignment, and I'm sure you'll be very capable in that, and so I wish you well, and thanks for all the good work over the years. Appreciate it.
Sorry, Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Yeah, we've already said our goodbyes earlier, but I wanted to thank you in public again for your work for us for the last several years. You're highly professional and an absolutely great representative of the Sheriff's Department. You are the picture of what our deputies are that we don't often get to see. I know you're going to do well at the legislature, their gain, our loss, but I really do wish you the best, and I hope we bump into each other again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Okay, I'm going to mix things up just a little bit because we have a guest here who's been patiently waiting for us to do our own business. So we'll take number 82 next.
Item 82 is the invitation to the Board of Supervisors to attend the 2019 California State Fair.
Mr. Pickering. Welcome back.
Thank you. Rick Pickering, CEO of Cal Expo and your California State Fair, or I should say our California State Fair. The State Fair this year will be up and running from July 12th through July 28th, so 17 days of excitement. So Honorable Chair Kennedy, distinguished members of the Board of Supervisors, talented members of the executive staff and team, since 1854, California State Fair has been seeking to showcase the best that the state of California has to offer. Last year, 57 of California's 58 counties had residents that competed in programs at California State Fair. Pretty darn excited.
What was the one?
That's the question we get everywhere we go, and it starts with the letter A, and it's Alpine County.
Because there's only 1,200 people.
Yes, we've worked very hard to get Alpine County. One of these years we'll get them back out there. But most important to us is our home county, which is Sacramento County, and the things that take place within the county. We also want to express our appreciation for the outstanding positive working relationship from the various county departments and working with us at a state agency that controls roughly 800 acres of land within the county. And we had three outstanding representatives of the Sheriff's Department today, and we've continued to expand the relationship in working with the County Sheriff's Department in interjurisdictional matters. So thank you for that and your support. New energy at this year's State Fair, we've added the term Food Festival. And if we could have the overhead projection onto the screens. Thank you very much. California State Fair and Food Festival. We've been the largest food festival for decades in the Sacramento region, if not Northern California. So this year we thought, let's add that concept in there with more than 90 food booths, showcasing the best wine, cheese, olive oil, etc. The state of California, craft beer, which is continuing to grow. It made sense just to add that tag on there, California State Fair and Food Festival. But it's the California State Fair. Thank you for putting the glasses on. I appreciate that.
I can't see you anymore.
But it's also the California State Fair and Drone Light Show. So we're replacing our Friday, Saturday, Sunday night fireworks shows with drone light shows. So it'll be lights in the sky above Cal Expo. And we're also creating the first of its kind esports electronic gaming tournament, but we're also tying that into a job fair, the different jobs that are available throughout the state of California tied to esports and esports gaming. We're going back this year and doing the second annual State of California Youth Mariachi competitions. Last year we were able to bring in youth mariachi teams from El Centro, San Diego, the Central Valley, Salinas, from the Sacramento region as well. So we're doing that again this year. It's growing, it's expanding, and Mariachi Vargas will be educating some of these young mariachi players. If you don't know who Vargas is, I encourage you to look them up because they are the most successful, the best thought of mariachi group in the world. So it's great to have them here at the California State Fair. But we also have a number of the traditions, from the animals to the State Fair farm to the variety of food. And then typically when we go out and talk in the audiences, people say, discount tickets. Where do we get our discount tickets? So you can visit the California State Fair Cal Expo website, but we also have a food drive on Mondays. So if you bring 3 canned food items before 3 o'clock, you get free admission. We have children that are free on Tuesdays. We have a senior promotion day. We have recognition of first responders and military personnel on Thursdays. So there's great opportunities for people not only to get discount tickets, but actually get free admission. The magazine, and I know each of you have a copy of last year's magazine. This year's magazine will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. But as the California State Fair, we're called upon to serve as a benchmark for consumers in California. So this year we had close to 3,000 commercial wine products entered into our competitions. The winners are now posted on our website. They'll go into our annual State Fair magazine here in a couple of weeks. But if people are traveling throughout the state of California and they want to find out who the best of the best, who the double gold medal winners are, it's all on the website, and it's searchable geographical as well. And our website is in 9 different foreign languages now. We continue to do a number of things. We've recently been fully certified ADA certification for both of our websites. So public access to information, to maps, moving around the property. We had more than 500 event days this last year. Many weekends we have multiple events take place, and we're also now the fallback seat of government for the state capitol in an emergency. So half of everything at the Capitol would move to Cal Expo if the Capitol were evacuated. So being a regional asset in the community is important to us, and we hope to see everybody in this room out at your California State Fair during the cool month of July from the 12th to the 28th. So thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Rick. Congratulations and good luck. It looks like it's going to be a great fair.
And
Looking
cool.
forward to it. The drone light show looks particularly interesting.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
On the drone show, I always look forward to the end of the fireworks because it tells me what time it is to go to bed, right? Because I can hear it from my house. Will there be any noise associated with the drone show, or is it just the lights?
It's certainly completely different than the percussion or concussions of fireworks, but there will be amplified sound throughout the fairgrounds on our public address system, so it will be choreographed to music. It will be at the same time that the fireworks shows traditionally will, so many people, when the show ends, go, oh, it must be time to go home. But we encourage you to grab something cold and something sweet on the way out the door after the show.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Supervisor Cerna.
So, Rick, thanks for being here yet again. I think this is, 8 years in a row, I guess, for me that I've seen you here, and appreciate every time you have an opportunity to share with us and the public what's in store for the upcoming state fair. But I do have a very serious question. On page 60 of the magazine, there's a photo of your esteemed wine judges. How does one apply to be a wine judge?
Well, actually, for each of the 5 of you, we do bring on board celebrity wine judges, VIP wine judges, and in some cases they make a small donation that goes to our youth scholarship funds. This year we'll be awarding another 25 scholarships to high school seniors throughout the state of California, some of which are actually pursuing careers in agriculture and attending some of our ag tech schools.
Good. I like the way you roll.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Good luck. All right. I guess I've delayed it long enough.
I think we want to drop this item.
Yes.
Can we continue it?
Right. Next item, please.
Item 81 is the presentation of resolution recognizing Michael J. Penrose upon the occasion of his retirement after 28 years of county service.
So in all seriousness, we say this often when we have staff leave, and that's that we joke that we're going to continue it. We joke we're not going to accept it. We're not going to vote yes. And I have to tell you from the heart that this one really falls in that category, or I wish it could. I'm not going to be long because I have a strong feeling that I have 4 colleagues who want to chime in on this one. But I will say, without reading whereases and all, I will tell you that Mike is one of those public servants that is so very rare. I've never really heard the guy say no. And in that job, that's a very difficult thing. I found Mike to be, in the 5 years that I've known him, to be really one of the best problem solvers that I've ever had the chance to work with. I'll give you an example, and everyone up here has dozens of these Mike Penrose examples, but Habitat for Humanity wanted to build 5 homes in District 2 in an area that nobody would build homes in for decades. And they came across some county policies that were making it a little bit difficult. So I said, okay, I want to get this thing fixed. This is too important for the district and the county and Habitat and the families that are going to live in those homes. So I just went right to the source, and I went right to Mike Penrose. I made an appointment for him and Habitat to get together at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I came out to the lobby to bring them back into my office where I was going to iron this thing out. I open the door, and Mike Penrose looks up. He's got the plans already rolled out in the lobby of the board chamber, the board offices. He looks up, waves me on, and says, "Taken care of." That's a Mike Penrose story. And again, we all have dozens of those. Your dedication to doing the right thing, your dedication to this county, and your ability to think not just outside the box, but you get rid of the box at times, has been inspirational, and it's been a true service to the people of, I can say, District 2 and all of the other districts in Sacramento County. So with that, I'm going to have you take the podium, and I'm sure my colleagues will have something to say as well. So congratulations.
So am I to stand or speak?
The floor is yours.
Okay. So first of all, I'm just really honored to be acknowledged today and get this recognition from everybody. My time serving at the county, I've absolutely loved the whole time that I've been here. I came in '91, and I'm super grateful for all the opportunities that were given to me as I came along. Just one opportunity after the next that's given me the chance to serve in a greater capacity in a whole bunch of different areas that for me are interesting. They may not be for everybody because I'm an engineer, right? But and most recently, having the privilege of being able to work with the new Public Works Agency, and that coming together and being brought along by the county executive, and given the opportunity to do that has just been, for me, over the top. I've been super grateful for the opportunity to do that. And it's been a pleasure working with your board. I know we do different issues at different times and stuff, but it really has been an honor to do that. I have a great respect for the issues that you bring forward and the importance to those to your constituents and the citizens of Sacramento County, and me being able to be a part of that. The example that you talked about just a minute ago was, a chance to serve and get something done that was important to everybody. So that's probably all I have to say. I'm excited about retirement. Also, sort of a little bit mixed about leaving. I've had a chance to work with wonderful people, and the folks that I've called out now, as well as all sorts of staff as I've been here. And leaving those folks is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I think I'll still be engaged one way or another. And then my wife is here today. She's come down this row. She's back there. And she and I've got, it kind of says it in this resolution, but we do have a lot of plans that we're going to engage in immediately as soon as
Do they involve motorcycles and the Grateful Dead?
They do. And, fishing and hiking and paddleboarding and all kinds of stuff. So we've got the next 6 months of a whole bunch of neat things we want to do. So anyways, thanks a lot for letting me say something.
Now you can just stand there and listen.
Okay, thanks.
So I'll start off. So I'm really delighted that Chair Kennedy made the presentation the way he did and acknowledged you as a problem solver. I think that's probably the most apropos label we could associate with you. I've had a chance to work with you now for a little over 2 terms, and I have a fairly unique district in that I don't have a lot of municipal service needs compared to some others on this board, just by nature of the overlap with the city of Sacramento. But in those small areas where I have had a lot of focus on quality of life issues that fall within the realm of transportation, infrastructure, public works, you've been extraordinarily responsive, and you've been that problem solver when I needed you to be, and when our constituents, and I say ours, even though that word is usually most associated with folks that are elected, I think is just as relevant to civil servants in their own right. And so I think you've treated them just as we would our constituents. And so I want to thank you for that. I do want to convey that I've heard from a handful of private sector interests. I know there's some in the audience today, and they have a tremendous amount of respect for you as well. I think they would agree that from their perspective, whether they are land developers, home builders, those that we partner with in the private sector, that you've been someone that they really welcome in terms of the work that you the work that you do. That's not always the case. We know that. Sometimes it can be a very confrontational relationship between development interests and public works departments and planning departments. But I think they've really seen you as a welcome partner to do what needs to get done for the benefit of the residents of Sacramento County, for the benefit of our infrastructure network. And so that's the legacy I think you should be very proud of. And we hope that in your retirement you won't travel too far away. I suspect not. And it must be nice from your perspective to be able to look around this county over the course of your career and really note the difference that you've made, because you made a great difference, Mike. And we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Supervisor Frost.
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to thank you for all the times you said, "Oh, how can we make this work?" You're just that kind of person, and you are so respected by so many of our business and development community, and you've helped us solve so many problems. And I'm so sorry to see you go. I know you have to live, your life, and I'm happy for you. I hope you really enjoy your retirement. But we will miss you. You'll be a hard act to follow. And we've appreciated your dedicated service and your positive, how can we make this work mindset. And we hope to carry that on in all the departments at the county. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thanks.
Supervisor Tully.
Well, Mike, when I got your notice, as I called you that very day, I said I was glad I was sitting down when I was reading it, because I obviously everyone approaches retirement from a different angle, but it was quite unexpected. Obviously you'd contemplated it, you and your wife, and you've explained that and had made a decision, and I certainly very supportive of that decision. But I would just recount for a moment. I've had the good fortune of working with you throughout your entire career with the county, and certainly throughout my career, both as an assistant to my predecessor, but certainly as a supervisor over the nearly past 25 years. And as my colleagues have said, obviously, you've been noted for your ability to tackle challenging issues and challenging problems. And I think I recall probably most vividly when I got a chance to see you at work, and certainly in these chambers when they were full of people, when we were talking about widening the Watt Avenue Bridge. And you were working very closely, obviously, with Supervisor Muriel Johnson at the time, but because I connected to the area of District 5, we had neighborhoods in the La Riviera area and certainly the Rosemont area at the time, and spent a lot of hours, and I know you devoted a tremendous amount of time and effort, and I think your skill set was certainly perfected during that time, because you had the opportunity to get plenty of feedback to process that, and then come in these chambers on multiple times and attempt to bring forward the engineered public works project with all the various amenities and with all the community concerns expressed. And obviously that's well in the rearview mirror now. But throughout the years, again, as Supervisor Cerna said, that each of the districts is unique. I'm sure I've challenged your ability to think outside the box at times with my district and some of the issues that have presented themselves. But I know even as of the last few days, you've been a party to some of the conversations and attempting to work through things that have had a long tail to them, but nonetheless, where your skill set and certainly your ability to craft and to figure out in a very logical sense, but certainly with empathy for the situation at hand to help this county and in its daily work. And I've been so appreciative of that. Certainly, I know at times, again, with some of the challenging issues, it's been a little tense, and I'm sure you've gone back, scratched your head, and thought, oh my God, got to deal with that supervisor from the 5th District again. But nonetheless, I think always with good intent, and certainly with the spirit of trying to figure things out and to do it in a way that protect public interest and certainly the public trust, but in a way that obviously, if everything was in a book and you just went to section A in the book and it told you how to do it, that would be easy. But that's not how it is. And in fact, you can probably write your own book about how you get to certain solution sets. And again, you're a credit certainly to your profession, to yourself, but to this county. And I would just say that. Again, I think you've been a tremendous role model, and I know there are colleagues in the audience here today, folks that I think you've had a chance to mentor, and if nothing else, through your example, have provided tremendous leadership, Mike, and I'm very appreciative of that, and I thank you on behalf of certainly the people that I'm given to represent, all the people of this county, and certainly those from District 5. And I want to wish you and your wife many blessings in the days and years to come. I think you'll find enjoyment in many different things as you do now, but retirement will give you the opportunity to pick and choose those things that you and your wife and your family wants to do. And so with that, many blessings to you and Godspeed, and we'll see you from time to time, I'm sure. So thanks again, Mike, for all your good work.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. As representing District 3, I have the greatest need for transportation, all kinds of attention to transportation, and I've always appreciative of how much extra time you gave me. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, I think you taught me everything I know about transportation, probably to the fear of whoever's going to follow you. And you were kidding about your liking things that other people might not be interested in, and I've always appreciated that I could say, listen, I'm the wife of an engineer and the daughter of an engineer, so I get you. So I was able to tease you, and you've always been very thoughtful. You're very bright and respectful, and the most important thing, practical. In a time when things can get so easily complicated, you were the guy who could undo the puzzle. I know you have a great deal of respect in the building industry and anyone who has anything to do with infrastructure now, and they were all horrified when you said you were going to retire, but we'll figure it out, and I wish you the best. And Rose, I just want to say, take care of him. He's a jewel. Okay. Wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you.
Now get back to work, Mike.
Item 83 is you're introducing an ordinance amending Sacramento County Code Chapter 6.99.265, Title 6, relating to host family permit fees. You're waiving full reading and continuing to July 16, 2019 for adoption.
Good morning, Chair Kennedy and board members. My name is Marie Wooden. I'm the director for the Environmental Management Department. I want to thank you for this opportunity to present to you a new bill, AB 2524, that addresses catering operations and host facilities. This new bill became effective in January, and our department is requesting an ordinance change to add the definition for host facilities and 2 new fee categories to our department's fee schedule. To give you a little bit of background why this bill became into statute is breweries in the past were not built with commercial kitchens, but they quickly realized they wanted to have food available for their customers. These food sales were sometimes called pop-ups. They would bring in a guest chef or a caterer, but the pop-ups were not addressed into the state retail food code, and therefore we had no pathway to permit them. With this new bill, pop-ups will now be a caterer that can prepare and sell food directly to customers. So what exactly has changed? There are two new definitions. Catering operation and a host facility were added to the California Retail Food Code. New sections were added to set up the framework for permitting the catering operation to prepare food, sell food directly to a host facility. These new code sections include permitting and operational requirements for this type of food sale activity. So what does the law now allow for breweries, wineries, and bars? They can apply for a permit as a host facility. Once permitted, food businesses can invite and prepare to sell food at a brewery or winery as a catering operation or a pop-up. Host facility requirements. A host facility must obtain a permit from our department. They also must do the following. They have to have a restroom with hand washing, sink available, refuse storage and collection, approved area for liquid waste disposal, hot and cold water, designated area for catering operation that complies with zoning and fire codes, so they can't block entrances and exits. They can't set up on a sidewalk. Food sales by a caterer are limited to 4 hours in any 12-hour period. The catering operation requirements, they must operate from a permanent food facility or commercial kitchen. They're prior to conducting food service at the host facility. The catering operation must submit to our department a standing operation procedure that includes the list of foods being served and methods for maintaining food safety and sanitation. The catering operation must maintain records for off-site food sales for 90 days. Records include location, date, off-site service activity, customer contact information, temperature logs, and menu.
Marie, can you go back to that slide?
Sure.
The second bullet, is that every time they cater, they have to get a separate permit?
I think if it's going to be a routine, they're going to go to one facility, we'll accept that standing operation procedure. We're not every time, but just common sense wise, if they're going to change, new location, different types of food, then maybe they would submit a different SOP.
Okay.
Okay, regarding fees.
What's the turnaround on getting a permit? How long does it take?
Kelly? I'm going to bring up Kelly McCoy, our deputy chief.
Sorry.
Morning. It's over the counter, so it's a quick transaction. Yeah.
I thought it was fast, but I wanted to make sure I didn't give you false information. Okay. Existing fees. So there's no change to catering permits. We already have these existing in our ordinance. There's a low-risk catering permit fee for $268 a year. And low risk means that the caterer is usually reheating cooked foods like hot dogs, tamales, or cooked corn. High risk is $391 a year. That means the caterer is taking raw foods, usually raw meats, beef, poultry, fish, and they're changing it to its cooked state. A catering permit is not needed if already permitted as a restaurant or other food preparation facility. The new proposed fees, we're calling them host facility, category A, it means that they already have a health permit with our department, such as a bar. We're just going to be charging a $73 application fee. And then category B, no current permit with us, such as a brewery. It's an annual fee of $365. That includes the inspection.
Okay, so let's say that a brewery wants to cook their own food at their site. Then they have to apply for both of these fees?
If they don't have a kitchen and they want to be a host facility, they can apply to be a host facility. For instance, if they don't have a health permit with us, it's a bar that doesn't have any kitchen facilities, they want to be host, they would just Oh, I'm sorry. They already have a current permit fee with us. They would, as a bar, they would apply for $73, and then they can have a caterer to come in as the pop-up to set up, cook the food there, and then serve the customers. So that's the relation with host.
But what
and
if they're doing
pop-up.
it themselves?
They're doing, well, usually if they're doing it themselves, they've got commercial kitchen there, so they would already be permitted with us.
Okay.
I guess they could still have a pop-up chef come in, but anyway.
Or maybe they have two businesses and one's a pop-up.
Right, right.
Right.
Or they're, I'm speaking from experience here.
Okay.
I'm trying not to name names,
Oh,
get
okay.
anybody in trouble. Let's say that the owners of a brewery
Right.
want to, a married couple ownership want to, and one is doing the cooking there and one's running the brewery. I mean,
So as long as they have the commercial kitchen there, and they'd have to be permitted with us if they're going to cook themselves on site. They need a permit with us. If they already have their permit, but let's say they still want a guest chef to come in, they can do that. They would just fill out this $73 application fee to have somebody else come in. If they're just a sole caterer and they're not another restaurant. I know it's kind of confusing, but I want to help it clarified a little bit.
okay.
And we can answer more questions. The fee comparison, when we actually started looking at this is a new bill, so these are the counties that they already had taken it to their board. We feel our fees are reasonable. We're not what we found out is they're charging a plan check fee. I don't know why we decided not to do that, because most of these facilities have already been through plan check. They already have a mop sink, hand sink. So we decided we're not going to charge them the plan check fee. We're just going to charge the $73 application fee or $365 fee. Okay? On April the 4th, we held a workshop. We invited breweries, wineries, and caterers. We had a lot of positive feedback. We had a lot of caterers show up. Barbecue, you name it, they came to the workshop. They were all excited. We also did outreach to the Sacramento Environmental Commission and received a letter of support. Any further questions?
Any questions? Nope. I do have a card from a public speaker. Ben Roberts.
Good morning, everyone. To answer your question about a brewery setting up and selling their food as themselves, they would have to have a commissary in which they prepped all that food. So I think, if I'm right or wrong, Kelly can correct me, they can do that, but they just have to have a commercial kitchen in which they've prepared all of that food. I myself support this bill 100%. Thank you, Phil, for all of your help that you've done. Thank you all for listening. I think this will help people youthful in their career, wanting to branch out, start their own businesses. I have a pizzeria that opens in 6 minutes now. I started this business 5 years ago as a caterer. Just opened my pizzeria about 6 weeks ago. So it helps. It gets people off the ground, for sure. It gets their voice out. It gets their product out. It lets you express yourself as an artist. That's pretty much it.
So it opens in 6 minutes. Where is it?
It's on, it's the old Yellow Bill. It's on 25 14th Street N. So I got to hop on a jump scooter or bike and get there in 6 minutes. I'm like checking my camera at my house to make sure like my wife has left the house to get there to like unlock the door. So
very good.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for coming on such an important day.
It's going to be huge for Sacramento for sure, and getting people to sell food legitimately, getting the more clarity in the code, I think is important, because when we initially had our meeting, it was like, well, what are you doing wrong? I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What's he doing wrong? I don't know what he's doing wrong. Okay, well, let's figure out how we can make it right, and I think this is huge.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What's the name of your pizzeria? Again?
It's called Pizza Supreme Beans, Slices, and Squares. So we do like New York style pizza, and then we also do like a square. It's kind of a play on a Detroit style like deep dish pizza as well. So you guys all have to come check it out.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you all.
Okay,
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, that's the last card I have. Is there a motion?
Move the item. Second.
Moved by Supervisor Cerna, second by Supervisor Natoli. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Next item.
Okay, so for item 84, I do need a motion to drop this item. This is the Twin Rivers Transit-Oriented Development and Light Rail Station Project.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Chair, maybe just, since we carried this item for a few agendas, and I think there was good news that came on this, so it might be worthwhile to note why it was being dropped. I know we got a brief memo late yesterday, so I just think it's important for those that may be watching to know why we're dropping it. The project's still going forward, but there's some funding that's been inserted, as I understand.
So a new grant has been received by the agency, and what they're going to do is bring this item back after the cost analysis sometime in the fall. But it's good news, we got more money than we anticipated.
It'll have a celebratory tone to it.
Yes, very good. Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, please vote.
Unanimous vote. Item 85 is the approval of the 5-year Transportation Improvement and Program Guide 2019 through 2024.
Okay. Well, good morning. I'm Dan Schuman with the Department of Transportation, and I'm pleased to be here this morning to present what would be Mike Penrose's last TIP G hearing. And unfortunately, he's not here just yet to join us, but hopefully he'll join us.
Goofing off already, huh?
Yeah. I mentioned that just because Mike was really a big part, especially in his early days with the Department of Transportation, of starting up the processes and even some of the documents that have become now what we call the TIP-G, and he's overseen the evolution of that thing as he's advanced through his career with the Department of Transportation. So I'd like to really thank Mike for his guidance and leadership on that. So this is our annual update. The years we're spanning start with fiscal year 1920, go through year 23-24. We've provided each of you with a hard copy of the document. We also have the electronic forms on the board agenda web page, as well as on the Department of Transportation's website. We will be, as we have in prior years, what we present to you today is the final draft version of the document, and then we ask for your approval along with any revisions or changes that we might discuss today, and then we go back and publish and distribute the final TIP-G document. So to provide just a brief overview, the Transportation Improvement Program Guide details the capital improvement projects as well as the maintenance and operations programs that are recommended for implementation during fiscal year 1920 as well as future years. The TIP describes the various revenue sources that the county utilizes for transportation projects, as well as ongoing maintenance programs, and the various processes that we go through to select and prioritize capital projects and maintenance projects. With your board's approval of the TIP-G, the funding allocations to specific projects will be conceptually approved. It authorizes the Department of Transportation to go out and pursue available project funding opportunities. It approves priorities and funding allocations for pavement, rehab, and overlay projects. And it also adopts the multi-year capital improvement plans for both Measure A and for the countywide transportation development fee to meet the statutory requirements of those programs. I have a couple of pie charts that summarize the funding sources that are represented in the TIP-G document. This first one is for capital improvement projects. This is actually covering the 5 years of the TIP-G. So it involves the delivery of 62 projects totaling just under $400 million. The major sources that go into these projects include the federal funds, which include the RSTP and CMAQ funds that are allocated as part of SACOG's regional funding programs. Also, the Highway Bridge Program and the Highway Safety Improvement Program, which we apply for and receive grants directly from the state. The two major local sources, of course, are the Measure A sales tax and the countywide development fee. And I just wanted to comment on the light blue slice of pie called Other. That includes a few of the more one-time sources that we'll get from time to time. But a big part of that is unidentified funding. So there are a number of projects listed in the tip that we are still in the process of securing full funding for their construction. So we kind of represented that unfunded portion there in that section of the chart. This chart is for maintenance and operations funding sources. This is a little different than the first one in that it depicts just one budget year, which is pretty much characteristic of the fact that most of our maintenance funding is used for ongoing annual programs. So this is for the fiscal year 1920 budget. Total expected expenditure of a little over $90 million. The bulk of the funding comes, of course, from our gas tax sources, the basic gas tax being identified in that road fund portion, and then the new gas taxes and fees from Senate Bill 1 make up the bulk, along with the Measure A allocation for maintenance. I'm going to go into talking about a few of the project highlights, but first I just wanted to put up a slide showing some of the projects that were completed over this past fiscal year. We had several key overlay projects completed. We had a couple of bridge rehab and replacements, one the rehabilitation of Jaboom Street Bridge and the construction of a bridge replacement on North Channel Dry Creek on Rio Linda Boulevard. We also completed the second phase of the Hazel Avenue Corridor project. This segment was from Curra Downs to Sunset, and the third and final phase of that project will be underway next fiscal year, probably starting next spring. Just to go over a few of the project highlights and the tips, I'll just kind of talk about these by project category or project type. The first set is what we call major corridor improvements. This involves the county's arterial and thoroughfare corridors. It includes projects to widen the road, to add traffic lanes to relieve congestion, add traffic capacity. Also, intersection upgrades, as well as complete streets features, including bike, ped, ADA accessibility improvements, transit access improvements, as well as landscaping and streetscapes. The total estimated expenditure over the 5-year time frame of the TIP is about $235 million. And I've listed a few of the projects that are underway in the TIP. There's one that isn't listed there I just wanted to take note of because your board approved the award of a contract this morning to the Interstate 5 at Metro Air Parkway interchange. So we're looking forward to that project starting construction this summer. The bicycle, pedestrian, and ADA improvements include construction of new sidewalks, new bike lanes, intersection upgrades for ADA accessibility, curb ramps, traffic signal upgrades for ADA access, including audible signals and the like. Safe routes to school projects, which are a variety of improvements intended to improve walking and bike access to elementary and middle schools. The total estimated expenditure in the TIP-G is $45 million, and there's 8 of the projects that are currently in development there. The Auburn and the Thomas Edison School safe routes, as well as the Power and Road sidewalk projects, will be going under construction this fiscal year. This category, corridor enhancement projects, also involves the county's arterial and thoroughfare corridors. Generally, these are the fully built-out corridors that have been fully improved to their general plan lane configuration, so they're not focused on adding lane capacity, more focused on providing complete street features, so more pedestrian and bicycle facilities, ADA upgrades, as well as landscape, streetscape enhancements throughout the corridors. The total expenditure currently shown in the TIP is $30 million. We have projects underway on the Arden Way, Folsom, Greenback, Watt Avenue corridors, the Old Florentown Streetscape project, second phase and final phase of that is been awarded, and we'll be starting construction shortly. And then one other one that isn't listed here that was for your board in the consent calendar for approval to advertise is the third and final phase of the Fair Oaks Boulevard Streetscape project, extending between Marconi Avenue and Engle Road. The highway bridge replacement projects we've had in process for quite a few years, a number of projects. We're now finally happy to report we actually have some of those under construction. We actually have 4 projects that are currently under construction or about to construction. The 2 bridges on Ione Road and on Mackenzie Road, and then we'll be starting the bridge on Winding Way at Chicago Creek shortly. And these projects primarily utilize federal highway bridge program funding to either replace or upgrade structurally deficient or functionally obsolete bridges. And again, there's 10 active projects in the TIP, totaling about $76 million.
Yeah, Dan, just on the 2 bulleted, the Ione Road Bridge, the Buckeye and Willow Creeks, would you have some folks do some outreach? I had a call last week from the manager of the Folsom Gun Club, the range there, and I think they're still having some difficulties. We've got that road closed for months. I know we worked with it initially. I haven't had a chance to connect. I left messages, and he left messages as well. But I know we did notification, but if they're struggling, their business or people getting there, I don't know what else we can do relative to, movable message signs at, at different locations, whether they're coming from Amador County or down Highway 16 again from Amador County or coming in from Sacramento. Because there's really no easy route to get there with what we've got shut off on that southeast end of the road right now. So
right. Yeah, we'll definitely.
If you would, okay, thanks. Just made me think of that. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
And finally, here we have the road rehabilitation safety projects. This includes pavement overlays, sidewalk replacement projects. We have speed control programs. The neighborhood traffic management program is under this category, as well as installing and upgrading street lights in neighborhoods. Total expenditure in the TIP is $142 million. We have in the works the 3 major overlay projects listed there that are being moved forward thanks to new funding from SB1 as well as federal sources. We have some new streetlight installations going on in the Florin area in South Sacramento. There'll be actually a second phase of improvements, and we're working on delivering the streetlight installations in the Rosemont neighborhoods as well. And just to conclude, like we do every year, we like to highlight some of the challenges and opportunities that we see in the coming fiscal year and beyond. We've had considerable discussion with your board on some of our roadway needs, specifically on pavement, including the pavement condition workshop on February 26th. And you've heard all the numbers before. We have a countywide PCI of pavement condition index of 50, which is really at the very bottom end of the fair category. We have an unfunded backlog of $789 million in pavement needs. We have had a considerable boost to our funding thanks to Senate Bill 1 again. So we're currently available about $30 to $35 million a year. But we really need to see $50 million a year really to just maintain status quo, just to kind of hold that PCI 50. And $88 million or more a year to see an improvement in our PCI. So we still have ways to go in really identifying more funding for that, for the pavement needs, which is really one of our highest priority needs. We also are looking at some new challenges with bicycle, pedestrian, and ADA access improvements. The county, the Department of Transportation has been working with the Disability Compliance Office and other county departments to update the county's ADA transition plan, and this includes an update to the existing transition plan that was adopted a number of years ago for the roadway system. And of course, the bulk of this update is the street and sidewalk system. And that will be coming to your board for hearings in this fall, probably this October, and we are fully expecting a significant set of needs to be met in the area of disability access. Also, starting this year, we recently received a state planning grant to update our current bicycle and pedestrian master plans, and then we will also be consolidating those into an active modes master plan. So that work will actually begin shortly and be completed through most of this fiscal year. And again, we expect a number of new construction needs to be identified by that planning process. Upcoming funding opportunities this year on the state and federal side, SACOG is engaged in funding rounds. We currently or just recently submitted applications for their 2019 regional funding round, which was actually a supplementary funding round to the 2018 round that was completed last winter. And this was a smaller amount, just kind of a supplemental funding round, but the county has turned in 3 applications for projects that were partially funded last year, so we're hoping to get near or full funding on those projects for kind of a second time around. SACOG will also be advancing during this fiscal year the 2020 regional funding cycle, which will be substantially larger. It's expected to have about or in excess of $200 million available from the federal and STIP sources for transportation improvements and programs throughout the region. Other state funding opportunities coming up this year, the new grant programs created by Senate Bill 1 will be entering their second cycle. This includes the local partnership program that we work through the Sacramento Transportation Authority on, also the solutions for congested corridor programs, as well as the trade corridor improvement programs that will be opportunities to apply for additional funding, and we'll be coming back to your board as those funding processes come online to bring our recommendations for applications. On the local side, back in April, your board approved the update to the Sacramento Countywide Transportation Development Fee. Those new fees actually go into effect next week. So those introduced some additional projects that are funded in order to address the impacts of new development. Also, there's region-wide efforts going on to identify or even develop new funding sources. The STA is currently leading a public outreach campaign, and we've been working closely with the STA to talk about the county's various transportation needs as well as support that outreach effort. So that's it for my presentation. We have numerous staff in attendance to answer any questions.
Okay, Supervisor Cerna.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for the presentation. If I could, I don't know, do you have the tip G in front of you? Yeah. You can go to page A3-2. This is the spreadsheet for 5-year Transportation Improvement Program Guide, projects in District 1. And The I-5 Metro Air Parkway interchange is listed there both under project total cost and district cost share at nearly 28 million. And action we took earlier on consent, we accepted a bid of roughly 10 million less. So my question is, what happens that's savings? Am I thinking of it the right way?
Well, the cost that we put on the chart as well in here is the total project, so it includes all the...
Well, that was my question, because you have a column called district cost share. And I want, what's the difference?
Well, the district cost share is really there for when we have projects that have multiple locations. So we might have overlay project where it's one project listed in the tip with multiple locations in different districts.
Let me ask the question a different way. So the total project cost is what? How much? 27 million.
Right.
Okay, so the 17 million of the estimate from the lowest responsible bidder that we acted on earlier came in at 17 and change, right, to do the work.
That's correct.
But that's a fraction of the work that they're doing? That's the whole thing. So
No, that's the whole construction.
Now I'm even more
That's-
confused.
Yeah, that's the contract.
Help me reconcile the difference between the two numbers.
So the amount of the award today was for the contract cost.
Right.
There's also, in fact, the total construction cost, there's actually a 10% contingency added to that, so it puts it around $18 to $19 million of a total construction cost. We also have construction support that is running about $2 million, $1.5 to $2 million. And then the other part of the $27.8 million is for the design, preliminary engineering, any right-of-way acquisition, any costs for additional utility work. So it's the grand total of the project to deliver it as well as construction.
I guess it was just unclear the way the table's labeled, because you have a district cost share. And I was expecting to see a lower number, something lower than 27 million under that column header. That leads me to the understanding that the work that we're releasing the bid to go do now at 17 and change is for the actual construction.
Right.
There's been land acquisition, there's been design, all these other quote-unquote soft costs associated with the project. So I guess in the future, I would ask you to maybe consider rethinking this so we can avoid that kind of confusion. Then my second question is, I believe the engineer's estimate was actually higher than this lowest bid that we took action on by about $1.5 million, $2 million.
That's correct, yeah.
So what happens in that case? Let's cross our fingers and hope that there aren't a lot of change orders and there's a slow burn, if any, through a contingency. What happens to any savings there? Does it stay? Where does it stay? Where does that savings go?
Well, the funding is out of the Community Facilities District there. So any savings realized from this project could go towards being available for future work. So for instance, we're now having discussions with Caltrans about completing an auxiliary lane on Interstate 5, generally between the Highway 99 interchange and the airport.
So it has to stay with a Caltrans line item of some sort.
Well, it stays with a Metro Air Park project,
including other transportation improvements, literally internal to the park.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the aux lanes are a Metro Air Park responsibility.
And then we have a true understanding of what we have to work with. I assume once we've completed the entire project and we have the as-builts and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Supervisor Natoli.
Thank you. Couple different things. One being just on your introduction on the funding sources, and obviously you showed a pie chart that went through it in a little better detail. I think it's important, and I think I may have mentioned this at a hearing a year or two ago, that it may not be a major source of funding, but for the last 4 years, including this recently passed budget, improved budget last week, we have made a general fund contribution to operations and maintenance, I believe, and that doesn't show. You talk about local or other sources, but I think that in the description, so if somebody reads this, it's not a big amount of money, but there were decades in this county where there was very little. I think it was like $20,000 general fund, and it went to a specific contribution category. I just think it's important to call that out so that folks know, if they look at this document, that there are general fund dollars. And again, they may be meager by this year's comparison. It's only $1 million, but in years past it's been $2 million. A year ago it was $1.4 million. I think it's important to point that out in the document. It may be accounted for in here, but I think your introduction ought to talk about, because I think it shows a commitment by this board, again, ever how small it might be, there is general fund dollars going to road maintenance. And it's again, maybe a small recognition, but it's a recognition of the need. So I would suggest that in the introductory that there be some commentary to that effect. So, so Dan, if I could take you to the A section there with the 5 supervisors districts. In each of the 5, you have South County Transit called out. You show a project cost in every one of the 5 districts as being $600,000 as a contribution. When I total up, you've allocated for all 5 districts, and I don't get how that works because it operates in 2 districts and touches maybe the 3rd. But when I do the math, I got $2.176 million to a $600,000 project. And so if you go to just take A32, where it's District 1, you have South County Transit there, project cost $600,000, allocating $300,000 from that district. You turn to the next page, you take $116,000 from District 2, $580,000 from District 3, $600,000 from District 4, and $580,000 from District 5. I don't get how that math works. That doesn't make any sense to me. So what is that?
This appears to be something we will have to correct in the final document, because you're correct.
I do appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, this is, and really what we're putting in here is the cost of a capital purchase. This doesn't.
Of the what?
Capital purchases. So this is really the purchase of new vehicles for that.
Oh, it didn't. Okay. Yeah, it just says.
This doesn't show the operating costs for that. That's not part of this document.
But why would you capture it in districts that don't have that? It may be.
I agree. It shouldn't be. It should be confined to the districts where the system operates.
Right.
And so we will make that correction in the final. So.
All right. And then if I can go to the B section, the pavement section, and again, I want to thank you for some of the work that's already happened this season. I know we got a late start in some cases, and operation maintenance has been working pretty furiously out there, particularly our force account, our county crews. I want to note on page B111, those show 2021 projects, their force account. But my recollection was, if I turn it over to B113, that I'd gone through with you and Mr. Vicari and Mr. Mogisi, how that would bridge the this year and next construction season, being 2021. And I see a lot of street repairs on page 13 that I thought were going to be accomplished this year, and because the Rosemont section we took out, and I thought we were going to reallocate. So as long as we have the ability to do that, and working with you this season, because some of those roads, as you can see, are 20, 29, 22, 24 pavement condition, and they are in terrible shape. And I tell you, it's noticeable the work you're doing, but I tell you, it's really noticeable when you get the new pavement in some of those sections out there, and other sections are just in tremendously bad shape. So I guess my question is that some of those things that show up on 13, again, recognize there's a budget for each of the districts. We can still get that work accomplished this year?
Yeah, I'm going to pass this over to probably to Ron and Reza.
I know we've had multiple meetings. I didn't bring my sheet down. It's upstairs, so I got my notes. But I got pretty good memory about what we talked about. So,
Ron Vicari, Director of Transportation. Yes, as a matter of fact, that last project you see, SB1 Phase 5, over on B110. Mm-hmm. Those locations and funding amount have not been determined yet. So the work that we've done with you in the last couple of weeks has not made it into the TIP, because the TIP was complete before we had been through that process.
Okay, so let me follow you. So I was looking at page 11, but on 10 you say SB1 Phase 5.
Yeah, so there's a project there that doesn't actually list the locations.
Oh, okay.
Because we were still working on that.
Okay, so I could take that little note there and then transfer it for District 5 to
Yes.
areas we talked about. Okay, that's
Correct. So the locations that we've worked on in the last couple of weeks will in fact go into that project. They just weren't done in time to show in this.
Okay, that's fine. I just
document.
wanted- So those insert into that category, and there are other districts, obviously, all 5 districts represented, but.
That's correct.
Okay, and that is work that can be, assuming weather holds, we can get some of this forest account work done this year, this construction season?
That's correct. Some of the forest count work will take place in the end of this summer.
Okay.
The remainder will be done next year.
Okay, so I know, we meet frequently, but I just want to be sure, because again, I've set some expectations, again, and also lowered some with folks telling them that their section isn't going to get done this year, but there are other sections, as we've talked about here, recognizing that there's some fine tuning that has to go on, so I just want to be sure, Ron. So.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. Oops. My first question was going to be about the South County Transit Program, which I think you already answered. First time I've ever seen that. Then I want to say good job getting the SB1 projects rolled out, so I'm happy about that. And I wondered if you had any predictions for this coming year and how much, does the revenue come in monthly, remind me, or does it come in annually? And so when do you know how much money you're going to get?
Yes, the revenue does come in on a monthly basis. And so what happens is we wait for enough money to accumulate so that we can put out a significant project. We try to shoot for, you've seen the most recent projects, around $10 million. We are looking, however, at the end of next summer to put out, because our objective is to get as much road work done as possible. We may put out a smaller project right at the end of the summer to make sure that we can get as much stuff on the ground as possible, but it accumulates on a monthly basis.
So in the first year of the collection and distribution, did the amount of money come in at the amount that we approximated?
It varies by month, but by the end of the year, it has been pretty close to what we've anticipated, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Frost.
And we're expecting quite a bit more this next year. It was like we were anticipating 8 to 11 million the first year, and then it ramps up. So this year, we're expecting.
Yeah, so you're correct. It was actually $7 to $8 million in the first year. It continues to ramp up as a few of the different things come online, but we're expecting between $23 and $25 million, and it'll be around $26 million in future years. That will remain pretty consistent.
But all these projects that are listed in here are not totally funded. It's best if we don't go out and say, make promises then on projects that are in the tip. We're anticipating most of them are funded. Is that how we should look at it?
Yeah, so the
I
projects.
think I got myself set up for some issues because I went out and made some commitments too to my constituents, and then they they came back wondering, about it. So I want to make sure I'm messaging it properly to them.
Yeah, and I think in fact is why the overlay project that I mentioned on B110, it still doesn't list all of the projects or the funding amount, because we'll have to see as things progress. As I mentioned with Supervisor Peters' question, we can anticipate what we're going to receive through SB1, and it has been pretty close to the amount, so we're able to accurately anticipate that. What's also anticipated in our funding program is our expectation of what we can receive from some of the competitive funding streams, such as those that we receive through SACOG. So that's why some of these projects, we do have to wait till the year progresses, and we are going with the most aggressive projection. But the last projects, the project you see where they actually identify the locations, those have funding already dedicated to them that we're really sure will be realized.
Okay, I have one general question. When we're doing overlay, or we're doing any maintenance or building new, and if it's receiving funding from Measure A dollars, are we putting signage out while those projects are going on to let people know where the funding's coming from?
We are, and in fact, we're working on a new sign that's been identified that they're asking that we would start utilizing, and we're in the middle of now making those signs, and we'll be putting the new sign up on all projects. But yes,
Great.
we are.
Great, thank you. And then on a specific project, on the list, the roadway candidate locations for future overlay, in District 1 and 2, you have Fruit Ridge Road. I know you can't crystal ball it completely, but where's that project looking as far as likelihood of when that might happen?
So it is a high priority, and the projects listed as those candidate projects are really the next in line. I would say it would be in the future year, as that one in particular is of the highest priority. We're also, Dan mentioned earlier about the $209 million going out through the SACOG flexible round. We certainly hope to have a emphasis placed on Fix It First, and really hope that we walk away from that funding round with a significant amount of funding going towards our paving program. So a really aggressive round of funding, if we're able to bring a lot of more money into our paving program. You may see even earlier than that as far as the start of design, but I would think the 2021 summer would be a good estimate.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Natoli.
Yeah, just on that, is there any way that, again, you don't know when the money's going to be received, I don't know if it becomes immediately available or not, but is that something you could have programmed for the 2020 summer? I mean, use Fruit Ridge, but there are other projects. Will the money be available? I think that's, if I hear one thing from folks, it's just that, even with the progress we're making, you get another year or two, you get a wet winter like this, and that deterioration, it just eats away at what's in place that's already in bad condition. So is there any ability to, package that in such a way? I mean, I don't know what sort of design has to go into an overlay project, except, you got to figure out where utilities are and so forth, but maybe the curb, the curb alterations. But again, assuming that we were to get some of that flexible funding, 2021, that's 2 winters away.
Yeah, so we are anticipating, and you can see we basically stay at least one project ahead of what we have funding for as far as the design's concerned, so that we can roll out these projects as quickly as possible, and then we wait for the accumulation of funding. We are working hard as we do anticipate, and a really competitive round and being competitive in the SACOG. So currently we're under design on a lot more overlays than we have funding, in anticipation that we will be able to realize significantly more money out of that funding opportunity.
I want to introduce, and I appreciate the response, I guess introduce another thought here, and I know I called you on it recently, talked to Reza. PG&E is doing a lot of work in neighborhoods, and with our pavement, restoration requirements, they're doing half sections or bike lane sections, depending upon where they are in the street. And they're working in neighborhoods where we haven't had a chance to overlay in 30 or 40 years.
50.
50 or 60 years, okay. So the point being that I don't know if you know the schedule, because I know when I called initially, we weren't sure who was doing the work out there. They have contractors that don't have PG&E trucks. That needs to be done. That's important work, safety, and certainly the customer service. But I guess my point of asking the question is that if we knew where they were going to be, and whether it was in District 5 or District 3 or any one of the other 3 districts, that it might be the ability to pinpoint, as I suggested to you, that now I've got a street out there that had a chip seal, that where the pavement surface wasn't all that bad, but it wasn't on our chip seal list, it was on our repaving list. We weren't going to get to it for a while. Where we maybe marry it up so at least folks get rather than a half-done or half-baked project of some sort, at least get something that we recognize we're not going to get to some of these neighborhoods probably for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. It's just when I look at the magnitude of this and what we at least have available to us now. So I guess my question, Ron, is that what sort of coordination with PG&E? They get encroachment permits. We know what neighborhoods they're working in. It seemed to me that it might be smart money on our part if they're in there, depending upon what level of restoration we're having to go to. But, you know, in these aged streets and, you know, where maybe the surface is in pretty good shape. I mean, the subsurface is pretty good shape, but the surface needs to be redone. I guess I'd like to see us try to figure that out. And again, you know, we have to be a little bit flexible, but, you know, they haven't been in there probably in the same amount of time. They won't be back once they're making those fixes for a long time. And we're going to have these streets that are, you know, half or 1/3 away, you know, done. And they're aesthetically, obviously, they're like odd, but just the drivability of some of those surfaces, assuming that the base is in good shape. So I don't know what sort of coordination we're doing. There are other utility providers, but PG&E I know is very active, and I see them all over the place in these neighborhoods. And
yeah, we are coordinating with the utilities on a regular basis, and on the consent calendar earlier today was actually an item that talks to just this. We're working with the city of Sacramento, and we have 3 utilities working in one area, and we're able to take the money from all 3 parties and actually do the correct restoration of that roadway. We balance that with the needs of the roadway, because what certainly we can't do, and just to give you some of the complications of it can be a very, very a great process for us to work with these utilities. However, if that roadway isn't next in our priority, we don't want where the utilities work to dictate our priorities. It's very important that we stick to the most effective way to manage our own pavements. But in the cases where they are addressing a roadway that also falls in line with our priority, then it makes a lot of sense for us to step in with that utility and develop a partnership, meaning we can take the costs of which maybe their requirement under our restoration detail is to slurry, and we can use that towards the proper fix, which may in fact be an overlay. And so we are working with them on a regular basis. There is some times when that roadway just is nowhere near our priorities, and they do just progress with only doing the restoration that's required, because we don't have the opportunity to partner with them.
Well, let me ask this, because you took it to the reverse, kind of what I was asking, in the sense that what I was asking that, for example, when I used the area in Rosemont that was on our list, but we weren't going to get to it for a while, was on overlay, that they did a slurry. Now, part of it would seem to me that if, in fact, that was my point earlier, that if the base is in pretty good shape, it didn't require a lot of base repair, then why wouldn't we have, if they've got contractors out there, you know, whoever they're using, whether they're using Tiger, Granite, some other third party, it would seem to me that it might be smart to go the other direction, that they're not dictating priorities, because what I've got now is a situation where, you know, the street's half done, and it wasn't done. It wasn't the overlay, but we didn't have the opportunity to partner. So we're not going to go in there necessarily slurry, and it's just double work. And so I guess I'd like to see us, you know, that works both ways. Not just taking money and putting towards a pavement overlay. I get that. That makes sense. We've talked about that. But even in the reverse, where they're out there and they've got a crew out there, and you know, if we have to juggle priorities, it seems to me we got to be more nimble. And again, I know we have a process. They have a process. They have timelines. We don't drive theirs. They don't drive ours. But I would hope that, you know, maybe we have a key person in our department that works with, you know, not just PG&E, but that's what I was using because that's where they're doing a lot of work in these neighborhoods. But and we have, you know, other relationships. That one seems to me, because they're going to be here for a long time to come. They're going to continue to do that work, and I just would like to see us, you know, have a product that's certainly more aesthetic, but also, you know, buys us more time, you know, assuming it wasn't, you know, putting money, and maybe working with them. While they got the crew, they're doing half the street, they're having to cut the line down and everything else, just do the whole thing, you know? Put the slurry on there, and you know, if it was in good enough condition to meet our acceptable levels, and then it buys us some more time. So that's what I'm looking for, Ron. I mean, I get it on the other piece of it, but.
I appreciate it.
So I think it's a great point that Supervisor Tolley brings up, or concern. I think I've expressed it as it relates to the South Oak Park community several times, because as Don mentioned, his district, PG&E is doing a lot of work in a lot of parts of the county, but they're doing a ton of work in in South Oak Park right now, as our sewer district, SASD. And
As are all the water departments, they're putting water meters in.
Sac City's completing their water meter program as it runs through that part of the unincorporated county. So the streets are an absolute mess. We've got plates, we got trench plates out there, we have just really, really rough roads. So my question is, do we have a policy in DOT that recognizes that there's some minimal level of acceptance in terms of the amount of time that our residents have to live with torn up streets before we come in and resurface, based on the disconnect between it being a priority for us in our scheduling versus a utility in their scheduling? And if we don't, maybe we should think about that.
First, I want to address, I do hear what you're saying, and we will take every opportunity to try to do as best we can to strengthen. But the answer is yes, we do have the policy. In some of the roadways that you're mentioning, I think those are a perfect example that there is multiple utilities. So we do try to get the timing correct. So once the utilities are out of the way, we will be able to come in there and address the roads. So we leave them in a good condition that the neighborhood can be happy with. And in Rosemont, I know we're kind of timing the overlays to make that happen. In some of the roadways in which you mentioned, there's multiple utilities, so oftentimes we're waiting for that last utility to get out of the way before we get in there. And so oftentimes that window gets spread to multiple years. And so we are working, recognizing, I have heard what your concerns, and we also share in those concerns. We do recognize that that's very frustrating for the community to see the roads get torn up. And so we do try to get in there as quickly as we can. If not, partner with the utilities so they're doing the work, and they can make sure that they do the restoration before they even leave the area. But each case, we work with them on every case, and every case seems to be unique.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, though, is that, let's say, just by way of example, if you have, in that part of the district I represent, you have a PG&E that comes in and has to do gas pipeline work. And it's relatively close to the same time that the city of Sacramento has to complete their water meter work. But SASD, in their schedule, says, well, even after that other last utility, the city of Sacramento Water Department, finishes their work, we're not scheduled to come in for 9 months, maybe a year's time. So do we then, as that last agency that would resurface the road after all that work, say, okay, yes or no, that's okay, you can leave the roadway in a really bad condition for as long as a year, and the residents have to kind of accept it? Or do we work with that last utility, say, listen, we can't leave the roadway in a condition for that length of time. You need, as that last utility, the subterranean utility, I'll call it, to figure out how you're going to change the schedule so we don't leave the community with, shoddy roadways for an extensive period. Do we do that?
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too much into the weeds here, but so the answer is that, so the way it works is that the utility is required to meet our trench restoration detail. And there's we can either have them just do what our restoration detail is, or we can work with them to try to partner. So in the case that you mentioned, a utility going in and trenching the roadway, if they're going to come back and they're going to slurry seal the roadway, for instance, and a lot of times on our residential roads, it's half of the roadway, which we know that, so sometimes we partner with them to do the other half. We take that savings, we wait for the next utility that's going to come in there. If that utility is too far into the future, we would not, we would say just do the restoration detail. We're not going to take the savings and leave it, at least the section that you've got all your trench work in, unslurried. We're going to let you go ahead and do your trench restoration, and we're maybe going to partner with the second utility that's coming in. And so again, it's a unique situation. I hear the frustration, and do recognize it, and we're working to really come up with the best partnership we can, recognizing that we can't extend these to multiple years.
No, I understand. It almost seems like the the last, the last utility has work to do underneath the streets, if they're going to hold up the whole process for completion of the surfacing of the streets, should bear some responsibility of, quite frankly, the sunk cost of getting at least a slurry on there temporarily before it's completely resurfaced. Otherwise, the disorganization of, or lack of coordination between all of the parties is leaving those neighborhoods with incredibly rough roads. And I know it's never going to necessarily be perfect, but if there's room for improvement, I would highly suggest that maybe we have a confab with all the utilities to figure out how we do this better, because me, I'm out in that community driving around very frequently, and I'm not seeing more roadways completed. I'm seeing more roadways torn up. I'm not saying that lays at the feet of our DOT as their responsibility, because you're simply coming in as the last agency to complete the project, so to speak. But there seems to be even more subterranean trench work that goes out there lately, and it's not being followed up timely with resurfacing.
I appreciate it. We will work to make that better.
Yeah, we will. We'll absolutely take these comments, working with the utilities.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? I have no speaker slips. We'll take a motion, and then Supervisor Peters will make her announcement. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move the tip G, including excluding the following two projects: the Arnold Way to Mather Boulevard and Douglas Boulevard extension from Mather Boulevard to Excelsior Road.
So are you excluding or are you recusing? I mean, do we
I'm
need...
excluding, and then we come back with another for those two.
Just clarify. Second by Mr. Natoli. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, then I'll get those two important ones, Arnold Way and Douglas Road. Add them back into the mix. That's my motion.
Second, please vote.
And the motion carries with Supervisor Peters recusing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we can take, we have one card for off agenda. John LaRue.
To the Sacramento Board of Supervisors, I, John L. LaRue, would like to recognize the Sacramento County
Sir,
Parks.
I'm sorry, if you could speak between the mics, we could hear you better. There we go.
Okay,
Thank
that
you.
better?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, John.
I, John L. LaRue, would like to recognize the Sacramento County Parks and Recreation Department Downtown Division. Working for many years as a building security attendant, I have observed Parks and Recreation Division going above and beyond. Salvador Aces is the department manager. Sal works with his crew with his outstanding leadership. They all work as a well-oiled machine. They start at 4:30 in the morning cleaning up all areas of the Sacramento County buildings, from blowing leaves in fall to clearing drains that may be filled with leaves or rainwater, or cleaning up urine and feces that are unfortunately left behind during the nighttime hours or even the daylight hours. They make sure that the employees, they make sure when employees come into work and when public come to downtown Sacramento County buildings, that all areas surrounding the Sacramento County buildings and all the plants inside the buildings and the ponds surrounding the Sacramento County Administration building are in pristine conditions. They also do lawn care for all the facilities outside the Sacramento County buildings. This is a huge job. We sometimes take for granted all the hard work that people do. It often goes unnoticed unless there's a complaint that needed to be addressed. The area that the Parks and Recreation covers is huge. It consists of the District Attorney's Office, the County Jail, the Administration Building, Department of Technology, and the Sacramento County parking structures. Sal's crew work very hard to make sure all areas stay in pristine condition for the public and for employees to come to work. Everyone in this department should hold his or her head high. They take pride in their jobs, and you can tell. Sal's crew consists of Sherry, Megan, Ed, Andrew, Patrick, Don, Mel, and Francisco. Thank you all for keeping Sacramento County in such pristine conditions. John Lucian LaRue. I also have a certificate of appreciation for the Parks and Recreation Department for the Downtown Division.
Very good, John.
I also have one more letter. I would like to recognize Ms. Sherry Sutterfield for all her hard work and her dedication to Sacramento County of the Parks and Recreation Department. When I worked for Sacramento County Building Security Attendant, Ms. Sherry Sutterfield always worked hard and always goes out of her way to go the extra mile. If there was something that needed to be done, Sherry was there taking care of it without complaint. Sherry takes pride in her work, and you can tell. She takes care of all the ponds and all the plants inside the administration building, along with all the other outside duties for the downtown county buildings. Sherry is her supervisor's right-hand person. She is hardworking, and Sal counts on her to fill in for him in his absence. Whenever something needs to be done, she is always there with a smile on her face. Sherry started as a on-call employee and worked her way up to a full-time position and has dedicated herself to Sacramento County for almost 20 years. Sherry, I would like to thank you for all your hard work and for making Sacramento County shine. John Lucian LaRue. And I also have a certificate of appreciation for Sherry.
Thank you, Mr. LaRue.
Thanks,
Let's give that a hand. And Mr. LaRue, did you recently retire?
I did.
Okay, I also want to commend you because you don't know it, but very often I would be sitting in my office, which overlooks the parking structure, and watching you do your work, and you were about as conscientious of a security person as I've ever seen. So
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Come on down.
Good morning, Chair Kennedy and board members. I was pleasantly surprised by a phone call from Mr. LaRue a couple of weeks ago saying that he wanted to recognize our downtown staff for contract maintenance. And so we let him know that he could come and speak off agenda. And I just wanted to recognize Sal and Sherry if they could come up here and get their certificates of appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
John.
very much.
Forget your bag.
Okay. Shall we do appointments?
Sure. That would be item 87. You all ready? Okay. For your nominations, you are continuing to July 16th, the Natomas Community Planning Advisory Council, Sacramento County Youth Commission, continuing to July 23rd, In-Home Supportive Services Advisory Committee, continuing to August 6th, the Children's Coalition, Consumnes Area Community Planning Advisory Council, Delta Citizens Municipal Advisory Council, Elk Grove Consumnes Cemetery District, Local Child Care Planning and Development Council, Maternal, Child, and Adolescent Health Advisory Board, North Highlands Foothill Farms Community Planning Advisory Council, the Public Health Advisory Board, Southeast Area Community Planning Advisory Council, and the Vineyard Area Community Planning Advisory Council. Your first item is Carmichael Recreation and Park District. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate and reappoint Joyce Carroll and continue the remainder to July 16.
Okay. Civil Service Commission, Mr. Cerna.
I am reappointing Michael Johnson.
Okay. Mission Oaks Recreation and Park District, Supervisor Peters.
I'd like to nominate and reappoint Rick Moran and continue the remainder to July 23rd.
Orangeville Community Planning Advisory Council, Supervisor Frost.
I'd like to nominate Alistair Pollen and Robert Lewis and request the process be waived.
Second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote. Sacramento County Mental Health Board, Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I'd like please continue to August 6th.
Okay. Supervisor Natoli.
Likewise.
Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee, Supervisor Cerna.
I'd like to appoint Joseph Wilson.
Okay, and Supervisor Kennedy.
District 2 nominates the reappointment of Chris Parker.
And Supervisor Natoli.
Nominate Jeremy Edwards for reappointment.
Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Commission, Supervisor Kennedy.
Continue to July 23rd.
And Supervisor Natoli.
Continue to July 23rd as well.
Okay. And the South Sacramento Area Community Planning Advisory Council, Mr. Cerna.
Please continue to August 6th.
And Mr. Kennedy.
Please continue to August 6th.
Sunrise Recreation and Park District, Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate to reappoint Michelle Rivas.
Okay, and then Supervisor Frost.
I'd like to nominate Mark Shahan for reappointment and continue the remainder until July 23rd.
Okay, and that concludes your nominations.
Okay, then I believe we do have closed session.
Yes, we do.
So we will recess to closed session.
Yes.
That was
Certainly
really
the best
nice.
off agenda.